Hello all, Shadwell here, ready to talk about the next film in my collection, Night of the Ghouls from 1959. It's directed by Edward D. Wood Jr. and stars Kenny Duncan and Duke Moore. 1959 or 1983, as the copyright notice during the opening titles does say 1983, so what gives? Well, Night of the Ghouls is actually a once-thought lost project by Edward D. Wood Jr. that wasn't released until 1983 when it was recovered. Wade Williams, who owns the rights to the films in the Ed Wood box, bought the rights to this film, and when he did, he learned that the post-production film lab was holding on to Night of the Ghouls because their fees were never paid. To make a long story short, too late, Mr. Williams paid the lab fees and suddenly found himself in possession of a lost Edward D. Wood Jr. film. And not just any lost Edward D. Wood Jr. film, it's a lost Edward D. Wood Jr. sequel to his earlier film Bride of the Monster, as some characters appear in both films, and many incidents from Bride of the Monster come under discussion. But what Mr. Williams might not have been aware was that he may have proof, as my husband pointed out first, that Edward D. Wood Jr. was doing cinematic universes before Marvel and DC made it cool. See, there's a character in this, Plan 9 from Outer Space, and Bride of the Monster named Officer Kelton. Now, there are most people who refer to these three films as Edward D. Wood Jr.'s Kelton trilogy, but what if, instead of doing a trilogy, he intended to do several films with shared characters, set pieces, and actions? There's also a few references to a nearby cemetery in this film, and although I can't confirm that they're referring to the cemetery from Plan 9 from Outer Space, it's pretty safe bet that they are. So, I'm going to be bold and go along with my husband in saying that Edward D. Wood Jr. was ahead of his time by creating a cinematic universe before people knew what that really was. So, in a way, you could say that Edward D. Wood Jr. was a visionary, technically. Anyway, this film is the longest 69 minutes you'll spend watching a film. Night of the Ghouls is boring and, worse yet, tedious. We as the audience get what the turn is long before the characters of the films do, but we are taken along the very slow road of character revelation, and it makes this film especially painful to watch. Visionary as he may have been, Edward D. Wood Jr.'s execution and polish definitely needed work. At least Criswell had graduated from intro/outro guy from Plan 9 from Outer Space to full-on narrator with this film, which I'm going to give a D- to because, bad as it was, I've seen much worse. Tomorrow we go back to the 50 excellent 80s films with the film Lamb. See y'all then.